Hello everybody, this is Simon with the final episode of Let's Play Mega Man 4. This is it. We're going to end this now. And I gotta break it to you right away. It's going to end with a whimper, not a bang. And there will be lots of bitching from my end. To start out with, those last two stages are basically copy-pasted from Mega Man 2. We had refights, then a two-stage boss fight, Wily got away, now a fall, a tunnel with inconsequential enemies and the final fight afterwards. The fact that those enemies are actually killable and not the droplets is going to factor in too, in a bad way. At least they thought of it this time. You'll see. Apart from that, there is not a single bit of danger involved here, and you can always farm those for health if you got hit at once. So, the fight itself. Wily is always going to spawn those lightning bits here, and then for a millisecond you will see where he actually is. It's obviously very random where he's going to appear, where the lightning is going to appear, and actually hitting him, yeah, is a crapshoot. And also he's immune to the Mega Buster. You know what that means? He's only weak to a few weapons, namely 2, and every other weapon won't hurt him. One weapon is Ring Boomerang, which is why I'm pulling it out here, for whatever reason, because it only deals, case in point, 1 point of damage. The other weapon is Pharaoh Shot, and this is an absurd dick move because, as you might know, Pharaoh Shot is practically the best weapon in the game to use on general purposes. So, it is very likely that you have expended your Pharaoh Shot by now. If not in the normal game, then at least when fighting Ringman, because if you damage raise him, some shots will miss and he might run into you, and everything might not work out as you planned. So, you're going in here and have no Pharaoh Shot and, well, it's likely and you will be there with your pants down. The only way you can handle this situation then is to farm the enemies beforehand for more shots. This sucks. It's over now. It's really easy with Pharaoh Shot and it's not hard at all to dodge, so there is no reason why this enemy should only be vulnerable to the one weapon that's most likely to have run out. Don't get it, I really don't. And yeah, he's getting away too, because we're just standing there doing nothing, like we're doing the whole game. Still, gameplay's over. That was Mega Man 4. As always, time for my final thoughts. First of all, I gotta say this. There is nothing inherently completely wrong with the game. It is by no means a bad one, has lots of fun points and feels very complete, very polished. However, I personally would rank it very low among the classic Mega Man games. The reasons for this are twofold. First, lots of little details, which I'll get to right away. Secondly, the principle of the matter, which I'll address at the end. Details. Most of those boil down to questions of difficulty, which is obviously going to be hard to argue. Keep in mind that this is just my opinion. A good example are the Robot Masters, though, and I think most might agree. Toadman is probably the easiest boss of the whole series. Dustman is pretty pathetic. On the other hand, without knowing the trick, fighting Brightman comes down to dumb luck. Ringman on your first few tries will rip you apart. And if you don't keep to one very specific pattern, Diveman is also an absolute bitch to fight. This great gap of difficulty is present in lots of gameplay situations too. There are moments where the level design is obviously meant to be dangerous, but it's purely cosmetic and oftentimes not even all that disguised. For example, all of Wily 2, which should be still fresh in your minds. Other times, something that should be easy, like a single jump, is far more dangerous than you might think, like in Brightman's first screen. That should be on most everyone's mind that has played this game already. You can argue that most of the really unexpectedly difficult situations can be diffused by what their name implies, if you know about them beforehand. Which I obviously do, else I wouldn't do an LP. But let me tell you, first playing this game made me throw up my hands after dying on the same just a bit too hard for me jump a disgusting amount of time. It's by no means as downright evil as MM2 could be, but coupled with the hardest set of bosses in the whole classic series, in my opinion at least, the wildly varying difficulty can easily lead to lots of frustration, which is never a good thing. I repeat, this is very personal. For me, the feel of the game is just off. you might not have any such issues. No problem, carry on, enjoy a certainly good game of a very fun series. Now we come to my second, far bigger gripe with the game. It's all about its role in the franchise. To close the arc way back to my introduction video, you might remember how I wondered why this game was not on the Super Nintendo, even though it could have been. Mega Man 4 is a very well done NES game. They added in lots of nice stuff like cutscenes, but ultimately that's cosmetic. It's still the same game that Mega Man 3 was, except for the Mega Buster. The gameplay is exactly the same, and as we just saw, it blatantly recycles gameplay ideas from the second game, plots points from the third. You've got a distinct feeling of progress from Mega Man 1 to 3. 2 did lots of things for the series, like the 8-boss concept, E-tanks, perfect physics, etc. 3 gave us the slide, I've gushed enough about that, and perfected the level design. 4, however, doesn't do anything with the formula. The Buster is just not something that matters as much as the slide, even though I'm glad to have it. And in many ways, the level and especially boss design just seems inferior. It's the first time a Mega Man game was, in many ways, just a level pack sequel. Same engine, same concept, think up 8 wacky names, make weapons that fit them, compose an awesome soundtrack, throw together a few level gimmicks and call it a day. To do this, to reuse existing assets and create a game on the NES just because it was surely very cheap to make, was economically a good decision. After all, the Mega Man game for the Super Nintendo, Mega Man X, was probably already in planning, and so they could just release sequels without much effort. People would buy, and they did. Same for the next 2 games. Thing is, for the franchise itself, that was a terrible idea, and to this day it suffers for it. Because the formula worked so well, we now have 10 classic games, 8 X games, 6 Battle Network games, etc. And lots of those are just downright terrible. Even worse, appallingly mediocre. Worse because nothing screams we don't give a shit anymore than a game that just bores you, because it's unapologetically more of the same old stuff. This is poison for a series. I won't say the franchise is slowly withering away solely because they rehashed so much. Capcom not giving a damn about it in general anymore is also playing a big role. But it definitely played a part. I'm not too bitter. There are enough Mega Man games released to last even the most avid fan a lifetime in my opinion. What saddens me though is this. The Mega Man franchise is one of my favorite game series period. Even in its worst games I can find some enjoyment. Then, however, I play a really good Mega Man game. And the realization hits me. This is what far more of those games could have been. If they hadn't given up on trying to make good games instead of money machines as early as Mega Man 4, the franchise could have housed the best video games of all time. As it stands, with a few shining stars among that rows, the average is average. Fun, but not as fun as it could be. Yeah, I do blame the thought process behind Mega Man 4 for this, and it sours the game a lot in retrospect. To end on a high note, again, the game itself is good. I just don't like it too much myself. It has an awesome soundtrack, gorgeous graphics for the time, the best engine of the classic games. And maybe I'm just a fanboy putting way too much thought into this. So judge yourself. This was Let's Play Mega Man 4. I am Simon. Thanks a lot for your attention.